everybody, how's it going? We're back here to talk about one of my favorite plants that is really cool, and one of the big reasons for that is I'm American and that plant's American too. The Ludwigia Arcuata. Slightly confusing plant as it comes in a couple of forms. This happens to be the needle leaf form. It comes from the southeast of America. Fairly easy to locate if you are down there out in the wild. You can kind of ramble around and find this plant, but it will be kind of problematic to just throw it in an aquarium and expect it to grow as well as something like this that has been propagated for aquarium use. Most of the propagation was done Vietnam, Thailand, those areas out there. I'm not giving anybody exact attributable credit because I don't know who really did it, but that's where it was being imported from after being exported, grown, and then sent back. So this is basically a plant that if you do find it in an aquarium store or online or whatever, you're gonna get this variant versus something that is in the wild and probably not as resilient to growing in aquarium conditions. This plant has a wide variety of conditions that it can grow in, though I find about 6.5 pH to 6.8 pH in right about the 70 to 74 degrees temperature wise is plenty for it. Other than that, KH, DH, all that kind of stuff, GH, everything is pretty basic. You don't have to do too much. I'm currently using Aquarium Co-op Easy Green for fertilization, and my CO2 is running off of reactor down in the sump. So pretty simple setup, pretty easy to maintain it. The substrate in here is 3 different substrates: the ADA Amazonia, Fluval stratum, and some black fluorite sand. I have to tell everybody, because I know those questions are going to come up, like, what's the tank setup? The lights are the Fluval 3.0, and that pretty much rounds out the setup that makes this a really easy stem plant to grow. Hopefully that's a little bit of an overview that'll help you out. Now we're going to get into trimming, planting, and propagating it, because we got to fill in some spots and move it in the 150 here. All right, the Arcuata I got here, we planted from a lot of the stems that I got in just a while ago from an Etsy order. And as you can see in this tank, they're growing really red. Pretty much as red. You can see down here at the base, it's still pretty green down here, but by the top, it's growing pretty red, and it's really not doing well as far as contrast goes right next to the Rotala H right here, which I don't want to move the Rotala. I want to continue to grow that. And I've also got some cool plants behind here that I want to kind of focus. And as you can see, this Ludwigia is just growing so outrageously nice, it's probably just time to move it. So when it comes time to move a plant like this, the easiest thing to do is to uproot it, and just slowly but surely going through and uprooting each stem. Obviously this is going to create a big mess, but right now, something that is helpful, that if you didn't want to make a big mess in the tank right now while you're filming, like I am, get some medical scissors like this, and of course I'll link these down below, and go ahead right down here where it splits, go ahead and trim it right there. As you can see, there's even some roots that have come down from up above, and we've got multiple little plants here with some root attached to it. Now I don't want the multiple plant part, so I'm actually going to trim this right here, and I'm going to plant this portion into where this plant is going to be moving to. Now this little plant that I trimmed off, I will save, and I'll throw a plant weight on it and let it grow out in a sump somewhere. But for the sake of this video, and probably for what most people will do with this plant in their aquarium, I'm going to show you how to trim it and replant. So these little offshoots here, they'll come off of a node down below, and then we have this whole other plant up above. Once these aerial roots start coming off of the plant up here, you'll know that this plant is growing independently from the water column up above, and you can actually go ahead and trim right where just below the node where the aerial roots begin, and you can replant this portion that's going to be pretty much wholly adapted to your aquarium, because this is growing 100% in my aquarium condition, whereas some of the stem down below here and stuff is from the original shoots. You can see how green they are compared to the reds up at the top. Same thing with this one here. We can just trim it right here where it's splitting down below. And we've got a little extra attached to this, but you can see the aerial roots coming off of this, which means it's pulling from the water column, which means this portion of the plant is pretty adapted to being replanted. The rest of this pile, I'm actually just going to pull out, and then I'm going to put a plant weight on them and allow them to grow in a sump and likely move them to another tank. So this whole thing will just end up coming down here at the base and just pulling them out from the substrate like this, shaking off the substrate to not like completely cloud up the tank with mess. And then I'll just add a plant weight to these and send them into a different space for grow out. I picked out what I consider to be a really lovely spot for the Arcuata to grow, and that's going to be right here next to these crypts. Right back in here. I'm just going to plant them along this little seam right here. So I've got this little running area right here where I'm going to be putting them in, and I think they're going to do really well here, and it's really going to accent coloring. Allow some color to pop right in between here. Arcuata is a cool plant. It only has 2 leaves per node and kind of grows sort of visibly in one direction. So you do have to kind of orient this plant so that instead of it facing that way, you want it to face this way so that you actually get to see the beauty of it, right? And I'm not going to plant a ton of it back here in this spot, just because of how prolifically this plant propagates and grows and grows and grows and grows. So I don't want too much of it back here, but I do want enough to really, you know, kind of bring out this part of the tank and have something going on that looks cooler than just a whole wall of the green crypt that I got growing through here. So should do pretty well. In the South, a lot of people would probably consider this to be an invasive species. Up where I live, it gets too cold in the winter for this to exist outside. But still, don't let this stuff go down your drain. Just remember to be cognizant of our ecosystem. So we only got one planet, bros and lady bros. All right. So this Ludwigia Arcuata is going to grow up through here, kind of compete with this Pogostemen in a way that I think we're all going to enjoy. But as in every aquarium plant situation, it's almost always an experiment to see how well things will do. And yeah, this is an experiment I am 100% willing to try on pretty much most occasions. This needs a little replanting while I'm here. All right, that's it. All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's a lot of fun. This is a great plant for anybody to try out, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, expert, whatever. Beautiful plant, fills in, grows awesome, and does a lot of stuff. If you like this video and you like what's going on this channel, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the join button, hit all of the freaking buttons, or the robots are going to continue to win, and we don't want that. We want to stay ahead of the robots, right? All right, later.